we have the Dallas Cowboys and star wide receiver CeeDee Lamb, who is actually holding out of training camp for a new contract. CeeDee had the best year of his career. And if these numbers are just insane, he had 135 receptions for first in the league, 1,749 yards for second in the league, 12 TDs for third in the league, and average 13 yards per reception. Whew, man, that is one hell of a year for CeeDee Lamb out there. CeeDee Lamb and the Cowboys are in a very different, a very interesting spot, which we'll go over in more depth on the next episode. We talk about the NFC East. G Mike, this is your Cowboys. How far do you think this will go into the season for CeeDee Lamb?
I honestly don't know, man, because like I alluded to earlier, I think they're trying to see who's gonna drop the ball first between the Bengals and the Cowboys, man. But as a fan, I really hope that doesn't go for long because before we got on the show, before we went live, Steve was going over it, and it's true what he's saying. Like we lose CeeDee Lamb, who's the next one up? Brandon Cooks. That
Yeah.
guy hasn't been a
Yeah.
wide receiver one since he was in. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt in the Rams or in the Saints or in the Texans. You know, like
Patriots.
even in those teams, he still wasn't a true wide receiver one. Just because he's short, yeah, he's fast, he catches the ball and he runs routes well. But being his size and not being like super agile and speedy fast like Tyreek Hill, it's kind of a downgrade in a sense. So he's never been a true wide receiver one. So we
Yeah,
lose
and
CeeDee Lamb. Go ahead,
that's
good.
not a diss on Brandon Cooks either, because Brandon Cooks
No.
has, for some crazy way, have been able to put up almost every single year in the league, almost 1,000 yards, almost every single year, and he's like the most forgotten about 1,000 yard receiver almost
Yeah.
in history because he's been with so many different teams. But it's impressive, honestly, that he's been able to go from team to team to team and still put up over 1,000 yards almost every single year of his career. But to piggyback, before you jump on that one, Brandon, real quick, to piggyback off of what Mike was saying, if you don't know, I was just looking this up. The rest of the wide receivers for the Dallas Cowboys as we stand right now is Jalen Brooks, Racey McGrath, David Doolin, Brandon Cooks, Kevontae Tupin, um, Jalen Cooper, and Cam Johnson, Jalen Tolbert, and that's it. I Are you getting 500 yards out of any of those guys?
No, none whatsoever. So yeah, this is definitely something for Dallas. Like you need to get this man his money. And will it happen or not? I'm sure it will. I mean, I know Jerry Jones is Jerry Jones, but I feel like, if you want to keep Dak happy, you want to make sure like this team stays together at least somewhat, you need to pay this man his money and don't play games. Don't mess around. He's not going to be the type that's going to be super patient. Like I think he wants to get his bag, and if you're not going to pay him now, someone will.
And especially that we don't even have a good running back core, man. We're bringing in Zeke to hopefully and pray that he could do a 2015 campaign again. And I seriously doubt that's going to happen. We got Den Whittle behind him. I'm pretty sure I mispronounced his name, but that's the first
Yeah,
thing.
Rico Daddle.
Yeah, Dabble. He hasn't proved anything really. Like, yeah, he had little spurts last year and a couple of games and stuff like that, but it was like I could count on my finger how many games that he actually had like more than 50 yards. Like, dude, like it's not something to go into the next season when our previous season was probably one of our biggest chances to win a Super Bowl and we just flat out choked it in the playoffs. And it's like you go into the offseason having this hope, oh, all right, like we have a lot of potential, boom, boom, boom. We lose two offensive linemen. Some of our defensive players are going at it with each other. One is having a podcast that he's most focused on that. Obviously, that's just the media saying that he's most focused on that. I don't believe that. I think Michael Parsons is a true professional. He's gonna always be a professional at the end of the day. But then on the offensive side, you got a quarterback that doesn't know if he's gonna be there long term or not. You heard what he said the other day, saying that he might be playing for another team, and then your number one wide receiver last year had to speak up and say, yo, give me the ball more. And now in the offseason, you're not giving him the bag that he deserves after having such an amazing season for a wide receiver that we probably haven't seen in the last 5 years. And it's just like, dude, what are we doing as a front office for the Dallas Cowboys, man? What are we doing?
Yeah.
That, my friends, is what you call a professional tease for next week as we talk about the NFC East, man. So with CeeDee Lamb, though, what the interesting thing with CeeDee Lamb is I feel like CeeDee Lamb is a little bit different than a lot of the other wide receivers in the league. He's very quiet. CeeDee Lamb isn't a diva wide receiver. He's more of a grinding guy that, a locker room guy that you're not going to hear him complaining. The only time you heard him complaining, and he had every reason to be complaining, is whenever he went to the bye week and he told Mike McCarthy, basically, what are we doing? Why am I not getting the ball? And then from that point on, from the bye week on, CeeDee Lamb they couldn't not throw the ball to him. They went off. And maybe it took Mike McCarthy to realize, you're right, we're not doing that. And why the hell am I not doing that? So I think that was like a major stepping point for him, and good for CeeDee Lamb for not going to the media to bitch about things. He went to like you should, and go to your coach and handle it like an adult, like a true superstar and a man should. So shout out to CeeDee Lamb for that one. And I do think it is inevitable for him to get paid. It's going to be really, really interesting because of what the Cowboys situation is. But I will definitely be hitting the Cowboys a lot next week, I'm sure, because that NFC East has a lot of stuff going on in it. So that'll be a really fun show to go break down all that stuff. But since we were just talking about these two guys, who do you think gets the deal done first?
I feel like because of the pressure that's on the Cowboys, they're probably going to get the deal done first. I feel like with the Bengals, there's a little bit more, because Chase, I think, has that personality to maybe, like you said, he's got that connection with Burrow. I feel like there's a little bit more opportunity to negotiate with him, again, regardless of the age. But with Lamb, I think it's a more urgent need just because of the lack of weapons you have with Dallas outside of him.
Mike, I'm sure you're hoping, praying. What do you think, though?
Yeah, no, I'm hoping that CeeDee Lamb gets paid today after this podcast. Like, dude, like, come on, man. Like, stop playing games and get him the money. But to answer the question, I don't really know who's gonna get paid first. Honestly, they're just trying to see who's gonna misstep and drop the ball and be like, you know what, we're gonna pay him already.
Yeah, and honestly, CD, if you guys are out there going to sign a deal, can you possibly wait till we're about to go on the show for next week's, just so we can get that content for you? No big requests. I mean, it's only money for you guys. Just trying to help us out here a little bit. But anyways, I'm going to go on the aspect of, I don't think either one of them are going to get paid this season. And I think it's going to drag out into next season. The Bengals have pretty much already made their stance that they don't plan on doing anything this year, and technically both of them are under contract. So either it's going to be one of those situations of either you play or don't, but either way, you're going to get stuck. And I think the Cowboys have a lot to figure out, because they have a lot more mouths to feed, and where the money's going to come from in that one. So I'm going to go with both. I think it's going to linger into next season for both of these guys, unfortunately, because they're both two amazing wide receivers. Arguably, you can put them 1, 2, or 3, however you want to do it in the league.
Mm-hmm.